Welcome to the Physician Associate Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Physician Associate Podcast. My name is James. I'm delighted today to be joined by two physician associates from America, Katie and Beth, who are PAs in Tennessee and also doctors of medical science. Welcome to the show, Beth and Katie.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, we're excited to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you on. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your podcast and your PA career so far?
Sure. So I'm Katie and I'm a PA. I did my undergraduate at Florida State University and then went on to PA school at South College. I have 10 years of experience as a PA in emergency medicine, correctional medicine, aesthetics, urgent care, and also taught at a PA program for about 6 years. And then went on to get my Doctor of Medical Science degree. And I'm still working clinically. And then also we have this business pre-PA clinic. And we also have a podcast where the white coats come off.
Yes. And hello, my name is Beth, and I did my undergraduate at Tennessee Tech University down the road. And then for PA school, I went to UK, which in this country is University of Kentucky. And so that's where I got my master's. After PA school, I did a postgraduate fellowship in orthopedic surgery. So that's where most of my experience has been as PA. Like Katie, I joined academia, was a full-time instructor for a PA program for a number of years, and then eventually went back and got my doctorate in medical science education to further that along. We created Pre-PA Clinic, which is our business to try and help students get into PA school. Over here, at least, the process is quite cumbersome. It's quite a detailed application. It's not very straightforward. And so we give advice and tips. And then we also help students in PA school if they need some help with, how to study, time management, just some basic science review, etc.
You guys host this brilliant podcast called Where the White Coat Comes Off.
Yes.
The white coat might not mean much to the UK listeners of this. So can you just explain the significance of the white coat to the PA and medical profession in the States?
Sure. So it's like a rite of passage. When you become a PA, you get a white coat, very similar to like the white coat that a physician would wear. It's better than your diploma sometimes.
It's like a physical manifestation of when they drape you with a white coat. And students get short white coats, and when you graduate, you get long white coats. It's basically a mantle saying that you have, passed this, you have the knowledge, you have the clinical skills, like we have faith in you that. And it kind of puts on the responsibility too, as you slip it on. It's like the responsibility of a professional. And when you take your oath, and so it's still something that, I don't wear mine every day in clinic because to be honest, I don't actually like wearing it, but it's more of a symbol than anything else. And so with our podcast, we really, really wanted people to understand like the good, bad, and ugly of medicine, like everything, like not just the pretty, happy, perfect stuff you see on the news of it being number one job, but we wanted to say, okay, why do PAs go to different specialties? What is it really like day to day? Like who are people, PAs, actually when the white coat comes off? Who are they? What are their passions? And so that was kind of our way of saying that, like, hey, we're going to uncover everything, like the things we love, the things we don't love, the political stuff, everything that happens like in the medical and PA field. And that was kind of our way of saying that, like, you might slip off your white coat and figure out like who's actually underneath it and what it takes to be in this profession. And then not just talk about the good stuff, but talk about, the things that I think we wish were different, or the things that are changing, or the hardships of, being a PA too.
Fantastic. Thank you. So many questions come to mind. And it's great to be able to talk to people who, will know so much more about the development of the profession over there. For anybody who doesn't know, who might be listening to this, are you able to talk a little bit about where the profession started in your country?
For sure. They came out of the military. And so military have like medics, which are just basically trained in like first aid, CPR, sort of battlefield type medicine, keep them stable to get them to the physician. And so it was decided way back when that there are some gaps in healthcare, especially with primary care, that in order to fill those gaps, they wanted to train up people already with medical knowledge. And so they took these 4 corpsmen and they just dubbed them physician assistants. And at that time, it wasn't even a degree. I think maybe it was associate's program. And so it wasn't a degree like it is now, and it definitely wasn't a master's. And so we've come far. And so they trained these up, and they graduated from Duke University, and they were basically the first physician assistants. And so it did spawn from our military. And from then on, now we still encourage students to have some sort of medical background. So you're an MA, you're an EMT, et cetera. But that is not a requirement anymore. Our profession has expanded just like it has in the UK. We have like 300 schools now. And so we still have a strong military background. We still get a lot of military medics that we do train up. But that was the first thought, was to take people with already medical knowledge. We train them up for a few years. We get them in rotations, and then we get them out faster.
Not to mention that as a PA, you're not pigeonholed to a particular specialty. We're able to move around in different specialties. So if I wanted to go into orthopedics tomorrow, then I would go into orthopedics tomorrow. If I wanted to try out pediatrics for a little bit, I could do that too.
Brilliant. It's great to see the parallels of the two professions, because it sounds exactly the same as how things are going in the UK. So it started, I think, in the 60s, didn't it? Where is the profession sort of in the present day? You said that there are several hundred courses. Is it in every state? Is it widely accepted? Sort of, what's the current situation?
So I think there's programs in every state but one.
Wyoming?
Yeah, there's programs everywhere. And I think we're close to 300. And as far as like where we're going, of course, we just had the name change from physician assistant to physician associate, which we were highly thrilled about. The other place where we think that the profession is going is independent practice. There's, in our opinion, no reason why PAs can't have independent practice. We do the majority of the same things that MDs, DOs do.
And so we think in our lifetime, there probably will be some sort of route to independent practice. So maybe in certain specialties like primary care, internal medicine type thing. And then maybe, if you work for 5 years and, you continue up with your CME, which are continuing medical education credits, and then you maybe pass your exam or something, that there will be a route to independent practice. During this global pandemic, there was actually a lot of places that we had these emergency measures in place and saying like, listen, we need healthcare providers. People with licenses in one state can move to another state and help. PAs can have independent practice. We don't need the supervising or collaborating physician. And so these things were set in place during the pandemic. And so we just think that now there's a precedent for that. Now they've seen that at work.
Brilliant. You alluded to it earlier, and it was something that I was going to ask you about. So there has been a quite significant change in the States, hasn't there, with the PAs voting to change your title from physician assistant back to physician associate. Do you want to explain a little bit about what the reasons and the politics and what was going on there and the significance of the name change?
So for whenever we graduated, which was like 10 years ago, no one really knew what a PA was. And physician assistant just has, it's a misperception, and it doesn't really have the connotation of what we do on a professional level. So a lot of patients would be like, so you help the physician or you're a personal assistant. That's the other thing to PA, either a personal assistant or a physician assistant. There's been a lot of debate about that for over a decade, for a really long time. So we're thrilled that change happened, because the new name, just personally, the new name, physician associate really connotates what we actually do every single day.
Yeah, because like way back when in Duke, in 1960, they were sort of trained up to more assist. I work underneath a supervising physician that I've never met. I've got his number if I need to talk to him. He's not in the office. It's only mid-levels in the office. And so, we're working pretty autonomously. And so to call us an assistant to this person who, has a degree, and he does, review our charts, and we do have his contact in case we need him. And really what I think is they're trying to change it for the future. And so for the next couple generations, it's going to be known as, physician associate. And then that will just kind of let people know exactly what happens. And then if we do become a doctorate or do become independent, you can't really be an assistant and be independent. Those two words don't go together. And so I think that the legislators right now, we know that there's lots of change. So it changed in our AAPA, which is like our American Academy of Physician Assistants, but every state will have to change it. Programs will have to change their names. It's a lot of legislation. So it's a lot of politics. And, right now we don't hold ourselves out as physician associates, because in Tennessee, that hasn't changed. Our state license will have to change. Everything will have to change, but it's a huge step forward for our profession, for our independence, and for our future. And so we are really just proud of the fact that we were able to push this through and just realize that yes, we're setting ourselves up for success in the future and for next generations to take it even further.
And it's lovely that the name aligns with us as well now in the UK, that the two professions marry up as well that way. So,
yes, and that way people know what we're talking about. And there's PAs in other countries in the world too. And so if we can all kind of band together and be like, this is our name, I think it would help with the confusion about what exactly do you do. So I think that's another great aspect of it too.
You said 10 years ago, people still didn't know what a PA is, and the confusion that what exactly is it that a PA does. It's assumed, I think, perhaps wrongly, by most PAs in the UK that everybody in America already knows what a PA is and you're well established, and the patients must all just get what a PA is by now because it's been since the 60s. Is that not the case?
No, not always, especially in more like rural areas or underserved areas. It's been a lot better over the past 5 years. Like the general population knows what a PA is.
It's gotten so much better. And yeah, once it hit number one job in America, like every sudden, like everybody's like, yeah, I know what a PA is. So that is a good thing.
Do you want to qualify that? Because it's about the rate of expansion, isn't it? Like the most?
Well, they actually look at several different categories. So yes, how many people are going into the profession, how many programs are springing up, but also like lifestyle. Satisfaction with the career, income, salary, benefits, how the longevity of the career, do people go into it and stay for a really long time? And satisfaction is a big one too.
Yeah. I think it was Newsweek,
U.S. News
and Report, World and Report, or something like that. And everybody's got a different thing, but it was and they do tell you a little bit about why they chose this career. We've been like top 3 or 4, and we've been number 1 in healthcare for multiple years. But the fact that like out of all jobs in America, all job satisfaction, like how much student loans cost, how much you make, job satisfaction, how many hours you work, they take all this and I don't know, feed into a computer or something and come out. And the fact that PA was spit out, it was just a huge leap forward for our profession, just a public awareness. And then now a lot of people want to go into that profession. And so then you get the top students, and then, and so it just, again, it kind of snowballs when something like this happens. And so it wasn't just based on like expansion, because they do say like they expect PAs to expand way faster than a normal career. It's like 30% over the next 20 years, and like the regular expansion is like 7%. So they do expect our career to grow faster than the norm, but it was more of like holistic, like whole lifestyle type thing, which we were super proud of, because we've been advocating for our career forever, and for it to be noticed by a huge news organization like that just really helped, I guess, politically kind of catapult us up, and people be like, wow, that is a legitimate career. Like you can do some amazing things and have a good life. So.
Yeah, it's great publicity, isn't it? And public awareness, and success breeds success. So, and then when a PA graduates, what can they expect to earn salary-wise in the States?
So that really depends on your specialty. So the more intense specialties, or the more like specialties with a patient population that has more money. So for instance, the more intense specialty like ER, which is quite demanding, get paid more, and as well as aesthetics. So like medical spa stuff, injecting Botox, that sort of thing, just because that clientele spends more money. It's cash-based business. You can expect to get paid more there. Primary care is probably the lowest paid out of all of.
So the average salary, according to our like a 2019 salary report, was I think $106,000. It's going to vary though, again. So like, you're living in California, 106 doesn't go quite as far as if you're living in Tennessee. So there are some cost of living changes too, but it is definitely a salary where you can have a good life on, and even in primary care where it is probably less. You take derm PAs who make $200,000 and, primary care PAs who make 80. And so it all averages out. But it is definitely going to be both specialty and then area of the country. It just varies so greatly here. I'm sure it's the same, like in the middle of London, it's No. Okay.
No, I was just thinking how opposite it is. I mean, I know the healthcare systems are completely different. You're in insurance-based model in the States. No, so every physician associate who works in a hospital in the UK will get paid the same banding, whether you're in the north of England, whether you're in Scotland, Wales, whichever part of England you're in, you get the same amount of money. There is a slight premium cost of living expense for London PAs, so they get a slight uplift because it's more expensive to live in London, but the rest of it is banded in the National Health Service, so you get paid the same regardless of which specialty you're in, regardless of where in the country you are. And then primary care, the GP surgeries have to be competitive if they're ever going to recruit physicians who's going to work in primary care. So it can be quite lucrative actually to go into primary care, where you negotiate your own contract and your own working arrangements.
Oh, that's super interesting. We actually teach our students before they graduate how to contract negotiation, like what to look for in a contract and what to expect and that sort of thing. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that a derm PA would earn different to a cardiology PA or something, because in here it's all the same. The contract is the same in the National Health. One of the things that comes up quite a lot for the UK PAs, they come out of school, they have their first few years sort of consolidating their education that they've had from university. And then they have 2 or 3 years, they start thinking, okay, what comes next? Where do I go next? And because the profession is so young in this country, there isn't really a career trajectory. There isn't a clear pathway of exams that they can take or next steps that they can do to develop. How is it in America once you're out of school? What happens next?
That's a great question. Actually, Beth took advantage of this. If you are set on a field and you really want to become an expert in that specialty, we have residencies here, which Beth did one.
Yeah. So it's like a postgraduate fellowship or residency, almost like a physician does, like when they do their residency. So, you know, an orthopedic doc wants to become hand certified, a hand fellowship or something. And so you can do those. And so for like my fellowship, I had to pass certain competencies. I had to pass an oral and a written exam. I had to submit a paper for publication and that type of thing. And then there are some exams we call CAQ exams, but it's only in certain specialties. So everybody has to have their national, what we call PANCE, which is a physician assistant national certifying exam. So everybody has to pass that, and we have to pass that. Now it's every 10 years now.
Yeah, they just recently changed it to every 10 years. It used to be every 6 years.
So that allows us to be like, okay, you can work in anything, but you can get special certifications. I think it's ER, it's surgery,
pediatrics.
They have 3 or 4, they call them CAQ. And you can do that in addition to your national exam, but it's not required. But it's a good thing to put on your resume and be like, hey, like I have these qualifications. But yeah, so we do have some specific specialties, but you still have to pass your regular exam. There was some thought about changing that a few years ago, but then we'd lose our ability to sort of pivot. And so there was kind of the backlash, like, yes, get your specialty exam as you want, but I don't want to just be an ER PA. I want to be a PA who specializes in ER, but then I can move to family practice if I decide it's better for me or something.
I hope that's the way that it goes in the UK as well. I hope that there is the chance to specialise into certain things and show that you can work at a certain level in your specialty, but also that we remain generalists and we remain with the ability to go into different departments and plug gaps when there are a workforce crisis and something else, that we can be part of the solution quite quickly to mobilise into changing how the profession looks that way. So I hope we don't lose that generalist.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's something that we want to keep here too, for that as exact reasons.
So we're very passionate about our profession being in every single country of the world. There is no reason why PAs can't be the bridge to healthcare in that way. It feels like it's going at a snail pace. It feels like it's going so slow to get PAs recognition in every single country, get programs in every single country. But I think it could solve a lot of the healthcare needs that we have worldwide, globally.
Yeah. And, you guys being so much closer to other countries than sometimes we are, because our country's so big, that I think it's fantastic to, at least we do, because we're big travelers and we love, overseas and meeting people from different places. I love the fact that it has just sprung up and skyrocketed in the UK, for example. And so we're just really, really excited to see that, because right now, for example, New Zealand, as an American PA, we can work there, but nobody else can work as a PA in our country, because they haven't gone to an ARC accredited PA program, which right now only are in our country. And so we hope that eventually it'll be more like, oh, so you were trained in Canada and you want to come work in our area because we have this need? Well, sure. And so we hope eventually that will happen, because, healthcare is a global problem. It's a global crisis. And yes, it changes region by region. We have a lot more chronic diseases than some other countries that have more, let's say, infectious diseases or infant mortality or something. And so the problems might be different, but we can take our training and I guess help more of the world if we could have this reciprocal where we can go there and they can come here. And so we really, really hope that in the future, this is one thing we advocate for, is that being able to happen. Because it's, we're a global world right now. And so just to say oh, sorry, you have to be trained in our, our American way, I think is doing a disservice to kind of the global healthcare. And so we really, really hope that in the future that this is something that might change.
I would love that. That would be great, wouldn't it? So I'm not sure if you're aware, currently there is no there's no legislative body that regulates PAs in the UK. We're an unregulated profession at the moment.
Wow.
That is going to change in 12 months' time or so. End of next year, the General Medical Council, the GMC, is going to take us on. It's the first time that the GMC will have regulated anybody else apart from the doctors. The GMC have regulated doctors in the UK for a few hundred years now. So they're the regulatory body. They're the ones that hold the register for doctors, and they can strike you off fitness to practice issues and that kind of thing. So that body is going to take on PAs in the UK, which will give us a lot of, I think, acceptance and open up a lot of extra doors, because we'll be seen under the same umbrella as them.
That's huge.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's huge.
That is fantastic. Because as you said, it's success breeds success. And right there, being acknowledged by that body that has all that clout, I guess, and all that, whatever behind it. I think that's fantastic for you guys. That's a huge leap
it's really
forward.
exciting. And it's taken people like Phil Begg and other sort of key members in the UK that were here 20 years ago that were bringing across those first American PAs to work in the NHS in the early noughties. They've been pushing for it for 15, 20 years, but it is now finally coming to fruition. And that was something I think that might then lead on to reciprocal sort of accreditation and training pathways to say that, okay, you've trained in the UK, but you can then have access to the US exams and come and work over there, and likewise.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's a huge leap forward for the profession. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Katie. Thanks, Beth. I'll leave a link to your podcast When the White Coat Comes Off in the show notes of this episode below, so anybody listening to it on my feed can link to you guys through there, and I'll put your socials all there as well.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Cool. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your podcast and some of the episodes you've done, and just drop some hints as if people are interested where they can find it and how they can listen to?
Yeah, sure. Our podcast is Where the White Coats Come Off, and we do everything from tips to get into PA school, tips to survive didactic and clinical year. We interview amazing PAs who are doing incredible things in our profession, who are advancing in the field or doing just really unique things like sexual medicine or a mobile clinic.
Opening their own practices,
yes.
like really advocating for the profession. It's fantastic. We interview international people. We talk about, we interview current students, what they think about PA school, what surprised them the most. We like to interview like new PAs and then PAs who's worked in different specialties. It's just a lot of fun just to talk to, and just, it's so different. There's so many different things you can do. And if you want to open your own clinic, or if you want to, do this or that, and we just try and get different people's and different opinions. We've got some things like some medical directors and some physicians to interview about what their thoughts about PAs are. And then we do some international stuff too. So it's really exciting, and it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And that's why I love doing the podcast that I do as well. It sounds like we've got very similar goals of just shining a light on the profession locally and shouting about it to anybody who will listen.
Yes. And you can find us on social media. We are on Instagram at Pre-PA Clinic. We have a website, prepaclinic.com. And then we are also on Facebook at Pre-PA
Clinic, yeah.
It's been great to talk to you, and I hope we'll catch up again in the future.
Yes, it was wonderful. Thank you for having us.
And thanks to you for listening as well. I hope you found that really interesting to hear about how the profession is developed in the States. If you'd like to connect with me and the PA podcast in the UK, we're on social media at PA Podcast UK, and I hope you'll join me for the next episode soon.
Thanks for listening to the Precision Associate Podcast.